Hey guys, so this is your reading of the News ELA article for day 6. This article is about archaeology, right? So understanding the archaeology, digging up the past from around the world. Follow along while I read this article for you guys, okay? And then after I read the article, you'll have a short quiz that has to do with the article, and then that'll be it for the day. Okay, so just want to make sure that you can see this. All right, going to click on PDF. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you, and here we go. All right, archaeologists study objects to learn about the past. When did people develop tools? How did they use them? What did they use to make clothing, and what did they eat? Did they live in large groups or small family units? Did they trade with people from other regions? Were they warlike or peaceful? Archaeologists ask all these questions and more. History of archaeology. The word archaeology comes from the Greek word archoesis, which means ancient. People have dug up monuments and collected artifacts for thousands of years. Artifacts are things like tools, pottery, and jewelry. Often these people were grave robbers looking to make money or build up their personal collections. In the mid-1800s, an Egyptian man found the tomb of Pharaoh Ramses I. Ramses I ruled for a short time about 3,300 years ago. The tomb also held pottery, paintings, and sculpture. Looters all sold everything they could sell, including the pharaoh's mummy. Ramses I wound up in a museum in Georgia and was returned to Egypt in 2003. Some archaeologists of the time were rich explorers. Many of them were genuinely interested in the culture they studied. However, now their work is seen differently. They took advantage of local people and stole their culture or heritage. The Elgin marbles is an example. Make sure we are scrolled down so you can see. In 1801, Lord Elgin was the British ambassador to the Ottoman Empire. Greece belonged to the Ottomans, who were from Turkey. Elgin took ancient marble sculptures from Athens, Greece, and brought them home. The government of Greece has been trying to get them back ever since. Today, in most countries, archaeologists must get permission to dig. Anything they find is owned by that country. Disciplines of archaeology. Archaeology is based on the scientific method. Archaeologists ask questions and develop hypotheses. They used evidence to choose a dig site and where on the site to dig. They observe, record, and categorize what they find. They decide what it means. Then they share their results with other scientists and the public. Archaeologists specialize in many different kinds of things. Underwater archaeologists study materials at the bottom of lakes, rivers, and oceans. Shipwrecks are one kind of artifact studied by underwater archaeologists. In 1985, Robert Ballard helped locate the wreck of RMS Titanic, which sank in the Atlantic in 1912. About 1,500 people lost their lives. By using remote-controlled cameras, Ballard found artifacts like furniture, lights, and children's toys. Prehistoric and historic archaeology. There are two major areas of archaeology. The first is prehistoric archaeology, and the second is historic archaeology. Prehistoric civilizations did not leave behind written records. Their artifacts and features are the only information we have about their lives. Features are things like buildings and roads. The builders of Stonehenge in Great Britain, for instance, did not leave records. They did not tell us why it was built and how it was used. Archaeologists must rely on enormous stones for clues. Another area of archaeology is paleontology. Paleopathologists study disease in ancient cultures. They might examine teeth to see what people ate thousands of years ago. Historic archaeology uses written records. One of the most famous examples is the Rosetta Stone. It is a large slab of marble discovered in Egypt in 1799. The stone was written and carved in 3 different languages: hieroglyphic, Demotic, and Greek. Hieroglyphics are the picture symbols in ancient Egypt. The Demotic is the everyday written system in the ancient Egypt. Before the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, Egyptologists did not understand either one. They could, however, understand Greek. Using the Greek part, they were able to translate hieroglyphics. Other disciplines. Anthroarchaeologists study how people use objects today. It helps them understand how tools were used in the past. Some archaeologists are interested in the modern sand culture of southern Africa. For instance, they study their tools to understand how the ancient sand tracked and hunted animals. Environmental archaeologists study environmental conditions in the past. For instance, about 1,400 years ago, the climate in Brazil highlands became wetter. The forest grew, providing more timber, plants, and animals for the Tankira people. These resources let them move to other areas. Experimental archaeologists made copies of these artifacts. One of the most famous examples is the Kon-Tiki. It was a large raft built by Norwegian explorer Thor in 1947. He sailed the Kon-Tiki from South America to Polynesia. He wanted to show that the ancient mariners could have crossed the Pacific Ocean. Cultural resource management architects are usually hired by towns or construction companies. They look and preserve remains on construction sites. Where to dig? Most archaeologists involve digging. Winds and floods carry sand, dust, and soil. They build up on top of features and artifacts and bury them. Cities and communities also are built in layers. Rome, Italy, has been a city for thousands of years. Archaeologists, for example, may be looking for ancient Roman fortresses. First, they may have to dig up a bakery from the 1500s. Often, it's hard to figure out where to dig. Sometimes they choose sites based on old stories. Before digging, an archaeological team looks for artifacts on the ground. Sometimes features can be seen from the ground. Images from airplanes and satellites can show patterns. Other technologies give clues about what lies under the surface. Sometimes sites are found by accident. In 1974, workers were digging a well in Xi'an, China. They discovered the remains of an enormous grave for the Qin Shi Huangdi, China's first emperor. It included 7,000 life-size clay soldiers, horses, chariots, and artillery. They were known as the terracotta warriors. Before moving any dirt, archaeologists must map the area and take digital photographs. The last step is to divide the site into a grid. These squares help archaeologists keep track of where each artifact is found. Today, scientists use technology to determine the age of an artifact. They are able to analyze bones to see what kinds of animals people used and ate. Archaeologists use technology to probe the earth below without disturbing the ground. The Big Dig. Digging is the field work of archaeology. Occasionally, archaeologists might need to move earth with bulldozers and backhoes. Usually, they use tools such as brushes, hand shovels, and even toothbrushes to scrape away the earth. Often, they will sift through dirt to screen to catch the tiniest artifacts. Archaeologists take lots of notes and photographs along each step of the process. Global Positioning System (GPS) units help them map the location. When archaeologists find artifacts, they are often broken or damaged. Sunlight, rain, soil, animals, and bacteria can cause them to wear away, rust, rot, break, and warp. Uncovered artifacts. Almost done. Okay. The archaeological team makes a record of the artifacts. They use photos, drawings, and notes. After the artifacts are out of the ground, they are cleaned, labeled, and classified. The scientists write up their findings and publish them in scientific journals. The, the public also learns that scientists discover about their history. Fast facts, ABCs of dating. Sometimes dates are listed as AC or AD, while other times they are ACE or CE. BC stands for before Christ. Archaeologists use it for events that happened before the birth of Jesus. AD refers to an Anno Domini. This is Latin for the year of our Lord and refers to years after Jesus' birth. Many archaeologists now use the terms BCE and CE. BCE stands for before Common Era and CE means Common Era. Ancient cannibals. Some ancient humans may have been cannibals and ate other people. Archaeologists discovered the remains of early human species, Homo ancestor, in a Spanish cave. They lived 800,000 years ago. Archaeologists found bones with marks on them, which probably came from stone tools. Trashy science. Some archaeologists study people who are still alive. For example, archaeologist William Rathje is interested in what Americans eat, throw away, or waste. He digs through garbage cans and landfills to find out. Sherds and shards. Many archaeologists study broken bits of pottery called pot shreds. Sherds can be bits of a broken water jug or a piece of clay. Shards are broken pieces of glass, like ancient windows, bottles, or jewelry. All right. Now we are going to go in and we are going to read the questions for you for your quiz. So, number 1. According to this section, prehistoric and historic archaeology, how did historic archaeologists learn to read hieroglyphics? A, they found a stone that showed hieroglyphics and a language they already knew how to read. B, they studied the meanings of ancient Egypt's everyday writing system and compared them with hieroglyphics. C, they used the carvings and builders that builders had created on a large stone slab called Stonehenge. Or D, they looked at how people use tools to write today to understand how they did so in the past. Remember, you can pause this video and go back and read so that way it's not going too fast for you. Number 2, what caused the discovery of the grave of Qin Shi in China's first emperor? Workers were looking for the terracotta warriors. Workers found it by accident while digging a well. Archaeologists dug up a bakery from 1500s, or archaeologists wanted to show how to cross the Pacific. Number 3, read the selection from the section History of Archaeology. Some archaeologists of this time were rich explorers. Many of them were genuinely interested in the culture they studied. However, now their work is seen differently. They took advantage of the people and stole their cultural heritage. What is the meaning of the phrase took advantage of, as it's used in the section above? So what does it mean by taking advantage of? Does it mean learned from, worked with, helped or improved, or cheated and tricked? And last one, read the sentence from the section Prehistoric and Historic Archaeology. Prehistoric civilizations did not leave behind written records. Which sentence uses the word records in the same way as the one above? So which sentence uses the word records the same as this sentence here? Okay. We have a manager who records the team's record for this team score for each game. B, the camera records videos or 5 minutes before stopping. C, the store keeps a careful record of what it buys and sells. Or D, we played many old records from my grandfather's music collection. So which use of records? You have records here, records. Okay, which sentence Bess uses the word records the same way that this sentence